Buddy, you're watching a physio named Jonah. That's this guy. A few months ago, I posted a video that opened up a conversation about physiotherapy and money. Today we continue that conversation as we shift our gaze towards the future and retirement. As the handsome young clinician that I am, you must be thinking, Jonah, surely you don't have to worry about retirement. That's so far away for you. And although, dear viewer, you may be correct, I should have a nice long career ahead of me, and I have been moisturizing my skin regularly, I'm going to have to disagree on the fact that I should be putting off thinking about retirement. And that's because as a private practice physiotherapist like I am, I will not be able to retire unless I, drumroll please, I invest. And I invest early, and I invest often. If you are new around here, consider hitting that subscribe button down below and clicking the bell so you are notified when I release new videos just like this one. I'm a Canadian physiotherapist who makes videos on physio-related topics like physio and finances recently, so if learning about the profession and your own body interests you, come stick around here on the channel, we'll have fun together. Now, I want to put a disclaimer here right at the top of the video that this video is not intended as financial advice. I'm sharing my own experiences as well as some of the things that I have learned about the profession as well as the finance world. And a lot of that learning has come from my fiancée Nicole, who on top of being a great physiotherapist is also quite a financial guru. So thank you, Nicole, for helping with this video. Now, I work in Ontario, and in Ontario, where I work in a private practice setting, most clinics operate on one of two pay structures, that being either an hourly wage pay structure or a fee-for-service model. If you're unaware of what those two models are, I recommend checking out my previous video on physiotherapy and money, because I go through a bit more of a breakdown there. Another very important piece about pay, though, that I did not discuss in my previous video at length is pensions. Namely, that private practice physiotherapy clinics do not offer them. For those of you who don't know, a pension is a payment that is received in retirement and comes from an investment fund that the person and the employer contributed to while they were working. Let's take a look at an example to help understand this. In this example, we're going to focus on a type of pension called a defined contribution pension. Now, there is another type of pension referred to as a defined benefit pension, but these are increasingly more and more rare. So we're just going to focus on the defined contribution pension for today's example. So for our example today, let's say that Bob works for company A and makes $70,000 a year. Bob's company offers a defined contribution pension that allows Bob to contribute a percentage of his pay, and the company will match that up to 5%. So, Bob decides to put in 5% of his salary, which would be $3,500 a year, and company A also puts in $3,500 a year. Let's say Bob starts working for company A at 30 years old and works there for 30 years. That means in his career, assuming his salary never changes, Bob would contribute $105,000 to retirement, and company A would also put $105,000 to his retirement. Now, you might be thinking, okay, $210,000 is not enough for retirement. And you're probably right. But it's important to remember that this money is not just being saved, it's also being invested. This means that throughout Bob's career, that money will grow in the stock market until he is ready to retire. And assuming a 7% rate of return or growth year over year on his investments, Bob would actually retire with $950,000. That sounds pretty good for Bob, right? Well, it's time for the bad news of today's video. I am not Bob. Most physiotherapy clinics, in fact all that I'm aware of, do not offer pensions like this. This means that for myself and clinicians like me, we are solely responsible for funding our own retirement. So for the sake of this example, let's say that I also wanted to retire with the same amount of money as our boy Bob, $950,000. And again, for the sake of ease, let's say that I also make $70,000 a year. Now, what am I going to have to do to ensure that I can retire with $950,000? My options to ensure that I had $950,000 at retirement would be, option 1, to contribute twice as much to my retirement each year. This would mean contributing $7,000 a year or 10% of my income to retirement. Option 2 continue contributing $3,500 a year, just like Bob did, and work an extra 9 years. No thank you. Option 3, try to push myself to contribute 3 times as much as Bob did, which would mean contributing $10,500 a year, which would have me reaching my goal of $950,000 in only 25 years. Now, the goal of this video is not to compare those options and which is better or which is worse. It's just to show that in order to have the same amount of money at retirement without a pension, I'm going to have to change how much I'm investing or how long I'm investing for. And this is just the nature of having a career that does not involve a defined contribution pension. Which brings me back to the initial point of this video, which is that as a private practice physiotherapist, I will not be able to retire if I am not thinking ahead towards my retirement and investing early and investing often to make sure that I'm set up when retirement comes around. Now, before I wrap this video up, I want to make a few things really clear. Number 1, these numbers were just for example. Please do not take $950,000 to be some all-encompassing financial advice. My fiance and I are very much working through what our retirement plans are, what our goals we're working towards are going to be, so just know that the numbers used for this video were very much arbitrary and not to be followed as financial advice. Number 2, this video focused a lot on the dollars and cents of pensions, but didn't include a lot of the other benefits that also come along with pensions of this style. If that is something you're interested in learning more about, let me know in the comments section and I can try and link some things in the description as resources for you to check out. And number 3, this issue is specific to private practice physiotherapists that I'm talking about, or professions that do not have a defined contribution pension. Physiotherapists that work in hospitals generally tend to have pensions, so this does not apply to that profession. Also, if you go the clinic ownership or business ownership route, you can often think of the dividends that you would get from selling a business as part of your retirement planning. So the investment is not going to be the only source of retirement funding. In summary, as private practice physiotherapists in Canada, we have to be thinking about retirement early in our careers so that we can invest early and invest often to make sure we're set up when retirement comes around. The longer that you wait into your career until you start investing means the longer that you may have to wait until you retire. Otherwise, you're going to have to work really, really hard to catch up on those investments or end up retiring with less money to do the things that you want to do. This can turn into a really significant problem if you leave it too late in your career. So if you are a new physiotherapist or getting into the profession soon, I highly recommend you start thinking about your retirement early in your career to avoid any nasty surprises down the road. If you've made it to this point in the video, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, you learned something new from it, and you now feel ready to go tackle those retirement investments. If you have a question for me, feel free to drop it in the comments section down below or share with me your current retirement mindset or things that you would like to know more about. I look forward to getting to know a little more about what makes you guys tick financially and chatting with you there. But most importantly, as always, move your body, have a laugh today, and I will see you at the next video.